My name is Wolfgang Mörkner, and we will talk to you today about making a plan and be ready for emergencies. What we introduce to you is Plan 9 from Montgomery County.
Plan 9 is essentially planning for an emergency. There are 9 important things that you need to have when you're thinking about preparing you and your family for an emergency. The first is water. Bottled water can be stored effectively in containers for 6 months. The key thing to consider is 1 gallon a day per person. Water is important because you need it for drinking. You also need it for washing. Now, there's several ways to store water. You can obviously store it like this in a large bottle, or you can buy it in water packs. Now, the great thing about water packs is that you can store water this way for up to 6 years. Another way to store water are these handy little plastic canteens. Again, you can buy these virtually anywhere in the Washington, D.C. area. Each one stores a gallon. And remember, you want to have, or rather you want to plan for 1 gallon per person per day. So in other words, if you're going to prepare for like a 5-day whatever, then you're going to make sure that each person in your home has 5 gallons of water. Next thing to consider is food. Now, key thing, and probably the easiest thing to consider as far as food, is canned food. Virtually everything that you like to eat is going to be in a can in some form or another. So you want to think about that in terms of buying cans and storing cans of food for members of your family. You also want to think to breakfast, lunch, and dinner. Now, obviously canned foods, that's not the only alternative. There are other freeze-dried foods or what have you, but you want to make sure that there's food enough for each person for at least 5 days, breakfast, lunch, and dinner. Another way to store food, or another way to get food that's already in a container, are these handy little emergency rations. And again, you want to make sure that you have a pack of these per person, per day for each meal. You can find emergency ration packs at outdoors and recreational sports stores. Next thing to consider is clothes. Now, there's an old American saying about this isn't a time to be pretty. And that's important. When you're thinking about emergencies, what you want to be considering is comfort. In other words, if it's hot outside, then you want to make sure when you're inside, you're cool and you're comfortable. Conversely, if it's cold outside, then you want to be warm and comfortable inside. One easy and quick and relatively inexpensive way to accomplish that, t-shirts. T-shirts are great. You can layer them up. You put one t-shirt on and you can put another t-shirt over it, and if necessary, you put another t-shirt on top of that. And that will help retain heat. As it gets warmer, then you start taking the layers off. If you want to, then on top of your t-shirts, you can always throw a sweatshirt on or a hoodie. The other thing to consider is you never know what the weather's going to be like outside of an emergency, so making sure that you have a good rain jacket or poncho. Now, this is my jacket. One of the things I like about this jacket is that it's Gore-Tex. So the water will roll off on it. My body's able to breathe. I won't get overheated, but at the same time, I won't be cold. And if necessary, when I don't need it, I can simply take the jacket off, fold it up, and move on to the next thing. So again, you want to make sure that you have the right clothing for the right season in an emergency. Now I'd like to turn to my friend Wolfgang, because he has a few things to tell you about medication.
Next I'm talking about is medications. Medications are very important, but you have to have them ready for 3 to 5 days for emergencies. And it is ideal to put them in a container which you can easily carry with you. In case you cannot have your medications stored, make a copy of prescriptions. The American Red Cross can, in emergency, provide the medications for you. And you put them into a watertight pouch and carry them with you. In this pouch, you should have other information, such as a copy of your driver's license, a copy of your passport, number of the insurance, number contacts in state and contacts out of state. The next important item in emergency is lights. Basically, you should have ready to go a flashlight, and with a flashlight, batteries in reserve. One recent recommendation is something like light sticks, which burn 24 hours and which give you light at home. You should not rely on candles. Candles have exacerbated the emergency and are a fire hazard in any case of emergencies. Of course, you can use gadgets like this one here, which can make light a mechanical moving it. Next item I'm talking about is can openers. If your electric can opener doesn't work, it's very hard to bite into a can. Therefore, you need a can opener in emergencies to be able to open the stored food in your cans. In emergency, it's important to receive the emergency information and to know what to do in emergencies. And this message you get from radio and television. And of course, if the power is off, you need a battery-powered radio. And in emergency, you need spare batteries for the radio. In addition, it is advisable that you mark the radio stations which give you the emergency information. In our region, WTOP is the leading one, and WAMU is another one which you can zero into to get emergency information.
Now, there are a lot of reasons why you might want to consider a handy little gadget like this. In addition to having a radio on it, this also has a flashlight, it has a siren, and most importantly, if the batteries die out or you don't have batteries, it has a dynamo, it's a hand crank. Now, you don't have to necessarily get this one. There's several out in the market that you can buy, several stores in the area. You can also order stuff like this online. But in my opinion, it's just a good one to have. You know, something like this.
Hygiene items are very important to be in an emergency pack. It's important to have soap, and it's important to have toilet paper, and it's important to have a toothpaste and a toothbrush. And for female, it's important to have female items in emergency package. Hygiene is so important because you have to keep clean, and you know that many emergencies are accompanied by outbreaks of disease for deficient hygiene. The last item of a list of 9 items is first aid equipment. We have here one example of them given out by the Red Cross. And the advantage of this item is that for each element of emergencies, things are packed in a different pouch, as you can see here. And on the outside of the pouch, it instructs you what it is for and what to do. On the inside, you can visualize what's inside the pouch, so you can pick the items you need. So for minor items, for example, here, it tells you if for small cuts and burns, there's band-aids and how to handle it. And for severe items, it shows you how to use a triangular cloth for fractures to stabilize arm and so on, or personal protection items for mouth-to-mouth respiration and so on. Now, we don't advertise for one simple brand, but I think you should consider these for the ideal being separated by the type of emergency, being ready and easy to carry. This one can be gotten from the American Red Cross area. Outdoors recreation shops also have this type of first aid kits. Check it out before you buy it.
Great. So now you've seen Plan 9. But then the question has got to come, why? Why should we put this together? You know, why should I take the time and effort to gather all this stuff? Why should I go to the expense of trying to buy all these things? The reason why is because in an emergency, you're going to need these. You're not going to have the time to go running around trying to find all this, and you're going to feel a whole lot better and a whole lot safer knowing that you've got everything you need in one spot where you can find it.
Last night when I prepared for this presentation, it took me 2 hours to collect everything what I needed.
You don't want to get caught like that, because in an emergency, you may not have 2 hours to find all this stuff. So in a nutshell, water, food, clothes, medications, flashlights, a can opener, portable radio, hygiene items, and first aid kit.
Now there's one point to be made. You can collect these items in the backpack, so you can carry them with you in case you have to leave your house, or you can have them ready for emergencies where you stay in shelter inside the house.
Okay. For more information, we'd like to invite you to visit the City of Takoma Park Emergency Preparedness website. And we want to thank you for taking time to watch this program.